There's a motion under debate, and it has become abundantly clear that this motion requires a little bit more investigation and some thoughtful input by a group of people in order to put it into good shape for your assembly and for the consideration of all members of the group. It's time to send this motion to a smaller group to allow for more discussion and investigation than you could possibly do in your regular business meetings. The motion to refer to committee is the motion you're going to want to use to make this happen. In this episode of Parliamentary Inquiry, we're going to take a deep dive into the motion refer to committee. We're going to discover when and why you may want to use it and dive deep into the characteristics that make up this motion. All right, let's get into it. Okay, we're talking about the motion to refer to committee. Now, why would you want to use this? Generally speaking, referring to a committee sends a pending motion or a pending question to a smaller group of people so that they can spend the time required doing some in-depth investigation into the question at hand, have good considered dialogue and debate and discussion. And then they come back to the main assembly with recommendations. Some other reasons that you may want to consider sending a question to a committee over and above time management might be issues around privacy. This approach also allows you to have a public hearing or to invite some experts to share their thoughts on the issue at hand for your committee's consideration. Now we're going to walk through the characteristics of the motion itself. And the first one is precedence. So what does this motion take precedence over? Obviously, the main motion itself. Now, in Robert's Rules of Order, it also takes precedence over the motion to amend and the motion to postpone indefinitely. In the standard code, it takes precedence only over the main motion and those amendments to the main motion. Bourneau talks about the fact that this motion cannot be superseded by a motion to postpone or for the previous question. Which brings us back to Robert's Rules, who then speaks about the fact that this motion to refer to committee yields to postpone to a certain time, limit or extend limits of debate, the previous question, and the motion to lay on the table. The next characteristic that we're going to look at is its application. Quite clearly, all three of the parliamentary authorities that we're looking at say that this motion applies to the main motion. In Robert's Rules of Order, it may also be applied to many of the other motions that would require some sort of consideration, where the standard code says that it applies to main motions only, and along with any pending amendments. Back to Robert's Rules, and the motions that can be applied to this motion include the motion to amend, to limit or extend the limits of debate, previous question, where the standard code says that it can have applied to it, the motion to close debate, to vote immediately, limit or extend debate, to amend, and the motion to withdraw. Next question that we're going to look at. Can you interrupt another speaker when they have the floor according to the three parliamentary authorities? And both Robert's Rules and Standard Code explicitly say you cannot interrupt another speaker. You have to have the floor given to you by the chair before you can propose this motion. Borno is silent on this, but it stands to reason that you need to obtain the floor first in the way that Borno describes this as being properly moved and seconded. Next characteristic. Does it need a second? All three authorities are clear. The answer is yes. This needs to be properly moved and properly seconded. Is this motion debatable? And again, all three authorities say, yes, this is a debatable motion. So the motion needs to be properly moved, it needs to be seconded, and it is open for debate. But the debate itself needs to be focused on this motion and not the main motion. So we're talking about debate on such specifics as to what committee, what is the composition of this committee if it's not going to an already constructed standing committee, and other specifics that would appear in this motion to refer to a committee. Those are open for debate. Is this motion open to be amended? And again, all three parliamentary authorities here say yes, it is, as long as you stick to the pros and the cons and the specifics of the motion to send to a committee, the motion to refer to committee, and avoid the main motion at this point. What is the vote threshold that's required to adopt this motion? A majority vote is required explicitly by Robert's Rules and Standard Code. And again, going back to the implication of the way the wording in Borno is, a majority vote is definitely implied. Can this motion be renewed or reconsidered? Now, not surprisingly, Borno is silent on this. The Standard Code says that it can be renewed after a change in the parliamentary situation, which is similar to what Robert's Rules says. A vote in the negative can be reconsidered until enough business has progressed to make it a new question, at which time it can be renewed. And a vote in the affirmative may be reconsidered until the committee meets, at which point, if the committee is meeting, then what you do is you use the motion to discharge a committee if you want the question back in the hands of the full assembly. Some special notes on this motion. The key to this motion is being specific enough to get a committee either up and running or standing committee the authority to do the thing that you want them to do. So take a look at my Smart Motion framework, especially the S for specific, and do your best with this motion to be as specific as possible without necessarily overloading the assembly with too many words. Okay, now I'm going to read off a couple of examples that may help wrap your head around some of the variations, the slight variations that you can use with the motion to refer to committee. Here's the first example. I move that the motion be referred to a committee to be appointed by the chair. Next example. I move to refer the motion to a committee composed of members X, Y, and Z with full power to act. Notice how the power to act has been specified in that motion, which means that they're not necessarily going to have to come back with recommendations and then have the full assembly consider things. They're being directed to study the issue and to act on the issue. Next example. I move that the motion be referred to the Standing Committee on Governance with instructions to report back at our regular meeting in March. And there is a good specific to put in motions. When does the committee have to report back? Finally, here's another example. I move to refer the motion to a special committee of 5 members to be appointed by the President with instructions to consult legal counsel and to report back at the annual meeting. And this is a good example of how you can use committees to consult with experts or hold public hearings. So, the motion to refer to committee. This is something that I talk about over at the Monthly Grind series at a higher level in my video, The Parking Lot of Ideas. I encourage you to go check that out because it's not the only motion that can give your full assembly a chance to think about things, about considerations, and to gather more information that may be needed in order to have good decisions. The motion is especially effective if you want to gather thoughtful input and conserve time of the assembly. Finally, the effect of this particular motion is that the pending question and associated amendments move off the plate of the full assembly. It goes to a smaller group of people who can have thorough discussion, investigate deeper, and will come back to the full assembly with thoughtful recommendations. And they can do this because they're smaller in a way that full assemblies just may not have the capacity to do. So think about next time you need to gather more thoughtful information and have deeper discussions, think about the motion to refer to committee. All right, meeting adjourned for this episode of Parliamentary Inquiry. If you found this interesting or helpful, hit the like button and remember to drop any questions that you have down in the comment section. If you're looking for step-by-step breakdowns of procedural items, check out the series Order of Business. If you're interested in more long-form conversation around issues pertaining to meeting rules and procedure, check out Point of Order. If you're looking for general insights into how to make your meetings more effective, the Monthly Grind is the series for you. For now, why not watch one of these 2 videos here or here, and I will see you next time.